Entitled mom tried to reserve the public playground for her kid's party by kicking everyone else out. I thought I'd seen it all at my local park, but yesterday I witnessed a next-level entitled parent meltdown that still has me shaking my head. It started as a normal Saturday. I, 32F, took my 5-year-old son to our neighborhood playground to burn off some energy. The playground is completely public first come, first serve, no reservations, just a section of the public park with swings, slides, and benches. When we arrived around 10 a.m., there were a few other families there, a couple of moms chatting on a bench while their toddlers played in the sand, an older gentleman watching his granddaughter on the swings, and 2 teenagers shooting hoops at the adjacent half-basketball court. A perfectly normal weekend scene. About half an hour later, enter the entitled mom. We'll call her EM. I first noticed her because she was dragging a wagon full of party supplies, balloons, streamers, a folded table, etc., across the grass, accompanied by a small posse of about 6 kids of various ages. I assumed at first that they were just having a little picnic or party near the playground. No biggie. But nope, EM had grander plans. EM started loudly clapping her hands and announcing, "All right, kids, we're here. Everyone else, the playground is now closed for a private event." I literally thought it was a joke at first. I exchanged a look with another dad, we'll call him Cool Dad CD, who was pushing his daughter on the swing next to my son. We both kind of chuckled, thinking EM was kidding. She wasn't. She waved her arms at the 2 moms with toddlers and barked, "We have this area reserved from 11 to 1 for my son's birthday. Did you not see the sign at the entrance? So I'm going to have to ask you to clear out." I looked around for any sign. There was none. The 2 moms, who had been sitting on a bench with their little ones, looked as baffled as everyone else. One of them called back, "What sign? This is a public park, you can't reserve it." She said it matter-of-factly, not even confrontational, just stating the obvious. EM huffed dramatically and marched right up to that mom, toddler at her feet, and said, "Actually, I did reserve it. I have a permit from the city to host a private party here, so you all need to leave, because our party is starting soon." She pointed towards the park entrance, which was maybe 50 feet away, and added, "They were supposed to put up a sign. Ugh, the park staff in this city are so incompetent." At this point, I'm hovering near the swings, listening in disbelief. Cool Dad and I side-eye each other, like, "Is this lady for real?" The older gentleman, Grandpa, who was pushing his granddaughter on the other swing, spoke up, sounding genuinely concerned. "Ma'am, we didn't see any notice or anything. Are you sure you have the right park? I come here every Saturday, and they've never allowed private reservations for the playground itself." The grandpa was polite, clearly trying to give her an out, or at least clarify. EM was not having it. She rolled her eyes and said, "Yes, I'm sure. I applied months in advance. Look, I have a large group coming, and we need the entire playground. We have games planned." By now, some of the kids she brought, I'd guess ages ranging 4 to 10, were already running toward the play structures. I saw one of the older kids, maybe 10 years old, climb onto the only available swing, one down from my son, which belonged to one of the toddlers, effectively pushing the toddler aside. The toddler started wailing, and the mom rushed over to pick her up. The mom holding her crying toddler now was visibly upset and said sharply, "You cannot just kick my child off the swing. What is wrong with you?" She was directing that at the older kid, who looked a bit sheepish. And EM. EM quickly shot back, "Oh, he's fine. Your kid can have the swing later. We have a schedule to keep." Then she clapped her hands again at us, all the other parkgoers. "Okay, I need everyone out in the next 5 minutes. Go, go, go!" I felt my own blood pressure rising. My son looked confused and a little scared. He's pretty shy, and the sudden yelling was freaking him out. I knelt down and whispered to him that he can keep playing. We're not leaving unless we want to. He nodded but held onto my leg, watching this loud stranger warily. Cool Dad, CD, decided to speak up calmly. "Look, lady, this is a public playground. You can't reserve it. If you have a permit for a picnic, you might have reserved a gazebo or a table, but not the whole playground. There's no such thing as reserving a public jungle gym." He even smiled, probably thinking maybe she was confused about how park permits work. EM was having none of that logic. She stomped over near the swings where CD and I were, planted her hands on her hips and says, "Excuse me, who are you? Are you a city employee? No? Then butt out. I'm a taxpayer, and I have every right to reserve a space for my child's birthday." She then looked at our 2 kids on the swings, his daughter and my son, and in a sickly sweet tone crooned, "All right, kiddos, time to go now. We have to set up for the party. Say bye-bye to the playground." My mama bear instincts kicked in hard. I stepped between her and the kids and said, "No, I'm sorry, but we're not leaving. Your permit doesn't mean you own the playground." My voice was firm, though my heart was pounding. I absolutely hate confrontation, but this was absurd. EM narrowed her eyes at me and snapped, Yes, it does. Do you want to see it? I paid a fee and everything. She dug around in her fanny pack, of course she had a fanny pack, and pulled out a folded paper, thrusting it toward my face. I took a quick look. It was a permit for a picnic area about 100 yards away, not the playground, and it was for a 12-person gathering at Picnic Area B. It said nothing about exclusive use of the playground, just that she had reserved some tables. I handed it back and said, "This is for the picnic tables over there. It doesn't give you private ownership of the whole playground. See? It says 12 people, picnic area, not the entire park." She snatched the paper back and said, "Well, when I reserved it, they told me it would be near the playground. Obviously, I assumed that meant we'd have the playground too. I mean, what's the point of having a birthday party in the park if random strangers are meddling around our kids' party space?" Her voice was getting more and more shrill. The two moms with toddlers were now scooping up their kids and, unfortunately, deciding to leave. One muttered something like, "Not worth it, let's go to the other park. There's another smaller playground a few blocks away." EM saw them leaving and smirked like she had won some battle. She then turned to the grandpa with the granddaughter. The little girl was still on a swing, looking unsure. EM literally walked up and started untying a bundle of balloons and began tying them to the swing set posts, effectively right above the little girl's head. She said to the grandpa, "Party's starting. You need to take her and go now." The poor grandpa looked flustered and said, "Sweetie, maybe we should come back later," to his granddaughter. The girl looked disappointed and started to hop off the swing. At this point, I was both furious and kind of impressed by EM's audacity. She was actually succeeding in intimidating people to leave, all because she assumed she could take over. Over my dead body was I going to pack up my son and give her the satisfaction. I called out loudly so all remaining people could hear, "You do not have the right to kick people out of a public park. You're bullying people, and that's not okay." I rarely raised my voice, but I wanted those who were leaving to maybe reconsider, or at least let others know they're in the right to stay. EM whirled to face me, eyes blazing. "Mind your own business, you tramp. Worry about your own kid." Yes, she called me a tramp. Charming. For the record, I was in a baggy t-shirt and jeans, LOL. I heard Cool Dad mutter, "Oh wow," under his breath and step a little closer to me, maybe thinking this could get physical. Out of the corner of my eye, I also noticed one of the teenagers who'd been shooting hoops had stopped and was recording with his phone, pointed right at EM. I don't think she noticed the camera yet. I responded, "This is my business. You're making it my business by trying to kick my kid out of his playground." She was about to retort when one of the kids in her group, likely the birthday boy, around 6 years old, tugged on her shirt and whined, "Mom, can I play now? Why aren't the rides empty?" I guess he meant the swings or slide-by rides. EM snapped at him, "Just a minute, honey," then pointed a long acrylic-nailed finger at me. "You're ruining my son's birthday," I shot back. "No, you are, by doing this crazy stuff. You could have had a party alongside everyone peacefully, but instead, you're making it into a nightmare." Probably not the wisest to argue with someone unhinged, but I was in righteous mode. Now EM completely lost it. She started screaming at the top of her lungs, "Get out! Get out of here, all of you! This is my son's special day!" Her voice cracked into a screech. Some of the kids she brought looked embarrassed, or started crying because, well, a grown woman was having a tantrum. She then actually came up and tried to physically grab the swing chain that my son was still sitting on, as if to yank it to stop or pull it away. My son yelped and I quickly stepped in between again, shoving her hand off the chain. I didn't push her, but I did use my arm to block her from grabbing it. I said, "Back off! Do not touch my kid or his swing." My heart was pounding like crazy. My son started crying at this point because he got scared. That made me even angrier, but I also was aware this was going off the rails. Cool Dad put himself between EM and me as well, saying, "Lady, you need to relax. This isn't your playground alone." He motioned to his own daughter, who was now clinging to his leg, crying because of the shouting. "Look, you're scaring the kids." M was beyond reasoning. "I don't care. We have a party and we only have 2 hours. You're ruining it." She actually stomped her foot like a big toddler having a fit. At this moment, another figure joined the scene. A man in a polo shirt who came jogging up, looking alarmed. Turns out this was EM's husband. Let's call him husband. Or just H. He had been parking the car and hauling more stuff over and probably heard the commotion. H hurried over and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Before anyone else could explain, EM launched into a shrill rant. "These people are refusing to leave. We reserved this whole area, and they're not leaving and they're attacking me." Attacking, seriously? She actually said attacking, as she pointed at me and CD, who were standing there literally just blocking her from grabbing our kids/swings. The husband looked at us and then around at the park, clearly realizing no, the park is not cleared, and yes, his wife is in full meltdown mode. He looked embarrassed, to be honest. He attempted to soothe her. "Honey, calm down. Maybe there's been a misunderstanding." EM was not to be calmed. She shouted, in his face now, poor guy, "No! They're ruining everything! Do something!" She gestured wildly at me and CD, as if we were criminals. The husband turned to us and, I kid you not, gave us an apologetic look. He said, we did reserve those tables over there, but... And I interrupted, "The tables, maybe, but not the playground." None of us saw any notice that the playground was reserved, because it can't be. Cool Dad added, "Your wife seems to think she owns the whole playground for the party, and she's yelling at everyone to leave." Husband sighed and rubbed his forehead. I think there's been a mistake. We were told we could use the picnic area near the playground for the party. They didn't say we get to kick others out. I thought that was obvious. He shot a look at EM, who was just fuming with her arms crossed, standing a few feet away now as we talked. It's like she didn't want to hear reason even from him. At this point, pretty much everyone else had left or been scared off, except me, CD, our 2 kids, and the grandpa and granddaughter, who had retreated a distance but not fully gone yet. EM's group of kids were mostly gathered around awkwardly, some poking at the piñata they'd hung on a monkey bar. Yeah, they hung a piñata already. The teen with the camera was still filming from the side of the basketball court, capturing all of this. Bless his soul. Suddenly, EM noticed the teen recording. She stormed over towards him, yelling, "Did you just film me? Delete that right now. That's illegal." The teen, bless him, just said, "It's a public place, lady. I'm just taking a video of the crazy." I thought EM's head was going to explode. She lunged at the poor kid, who yelped and jumped back, trying to grab his phone. She screeched, "Give me that! Stop recording me!" That was the final straw. Cool Dad had already dialed 911 on his phone at this point. I saw him on the phone earlier, quietly describing the situation when EM started screaming. And thank goodness, because EM was completely unhinged now, and we needed real authorities before someone got hurt. Literally, as EM is trying to snatch this teenager's phone, a police car pulls up to the park entrance. The police must have been nearby because that response was fast, or maybe because an out-of-control person at playground sounds scary. 2 officers, 1 male, 1 female, got out and started approaching. The teen with the phone waved and shouted, "Officer, over here!" EM froze when she saw them, then immediately started hyperventilating. Performatively, I suspect. As the officers walked up, EM ran toward them, launching into her story. "Officer, thank God you're here. These people are harassing us. They're refusing to leave our reserve party area, and they're taking videos of my children without consent." What? No one was filming her kids. The teen was obviously focused on EM. The female officer took the lead and calmly said, "Ma'am, slow down. We got a report of a disturbance." She looked at all of us. By now, my son was in my arms, sobbing softly into my shoulder, and CD was holding his daughter. The other family had fully left. The teen cameraman and the grandpa with granddaughter were the only other witnesses nearby. Husband stepped forward, looking mortified, and said, "Officer, I'm sorry about this. We are having a birthday party, and my wife believed we could clear out the playground, but we don't actually have exclusive permission. I think there's been a misunderstanding." He was basically trying to de-escalate and own up to the problem. EM cut him off. "No, there's no misunderstanding. We paid to reserve it." The male officer asked EM to show proof of her reservation. She dramatically dug out her permit paper again and thrust it at him. The officer read it and shook his head. "Ma'am, this permit is for the picnic tables, not the playground equipment. The playground is open to the public." While this was happening, the other officer, female, came to check on me, my son, and CD with his daughter. She asked if everyone was okay. We explained, pretty quickly, that EM had tried to shove our kids off swings and had been screaming at everyone. The teen came over and offered to show his footage of the incident. He actually said, "I got most of it on video if you need evidence, officer." EM heard that and started yelling again that he can't film her. The male cop told her firmly to calm down or she'd be cited for disorderly conduct. Anyway, long story short, too late I know, the cops separated us to get statements. Husband kept trying to smooth it over, but EM was loudly sobbing that her son's birthday was ruined, thanks to, quote, "these selfish people." At one point I said flat out to an officer, she was attempting to forcibly remove people, and even tried to grab my son's swing while he was on it. That definitely caught their attention. They ended up instructing EM and her husband to move their party to the picnic area they actually reserved, and let the public continue to use the playground. They warned her that if she harassed any more park users, they'd kick her out of the park entirely, or even arrest her for disturbing the peace or something along those lines. After giving our statements, the husband did come over, looking extremely apologetic. Cool Dad just shook his head and said something to the effect of, "Next time, don't try to commandeer a public park." The husband nodded meekly and trudged back to the picnic area. I took that as our cue to leave. My son was still sniffly and clinging to me, and I figured we'd had enough excitement for one day. As we walked away, I could hear EM still ranting to anyone who would listen about how her perfect party was ruined. So yeah, That's how it went down. A mom actually tried to reserve an entire public playground and bully everyone else out. She did scare off a few families, but some of us stood our ground and called her out. My son is fine now, though he was nervous at bedtime, asking if the mean lady would come back. I told him not to worry. I have a feeling this isn't the last I'll hear from this lady. A teen recorded it. I gave him my email in case he posted online. Wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on Reddit or something, huh? And frankly, EM strikes me as the type who might run to Facebook to rant or try to get revenge in some way. We'll see. I'll update if anything more happens. Knowing her type, she might try something else, so I'm not holding my breath that this is over. Update 1, 2 days later. Well, I didn't expect things to blow up like this, but here we go. It's been 2 days since the playground party incident, and the fallout has been interesting, to say the least. First off, remember that teenager who was recording the whole thing on his phone? Turns out he uploaded the video to TikTok and Reddit r/public freakout. By the next day, it went semi-viral. A friend of mine actually sent me the Reddit link saying, "Is this that park near us? This woman is insane." I had to laugh and reply, "Oh, I was actually in that video." Yep, I'm the psycho tramp mom, her words, who wouldn't leave the swings. The comments section has been glorious. Everyone is calling EM a Karen and worse, and validating that we had every right to stay. It was cathartic to read, honestly. Even wilder, some local folks recognized the playground, and EM herself. I got a private message on Reddit from someone who lives in our town and recognized the woman. Apparently, EM has shown up in the local neighborhood Facebook group before, complaining about trivial stuff, like kids making noise at the park. Oh, the irony. So her reputation isn't great even outside of this incident. Speaking of Facebook, EM decided to share her side of the story on a community moms group, one I'm also a member of under my real name. Buckle up, because her version is something else. She wrote a long ranting post basically saying, "Beware of horrible parents at park name who assaulted me and traumatized a bunch of children by refusing to leave the playground during my son's birthday." She called me, didn't use my name, just one mother, and another dad aggressive bullies who hate children and claimed we physically attacked her and her son. Yes, you read that right. According to her, we attacked her. She dramatically described how her poor birthday boy was crying because mean strangers spoiled his party. She left out the part where she tried to push other kids off the equipment, of course. I usually lurk in that Facebook group, but I couldn't stay quiet seeing that pack of lies. A bunch of other members were sympathizing with her post initially. "Oh no, how awful," type comments, because they only heard her sob story. So I commented. I basically said, "Hi, I'm actually one of the parents you are talking about. No one assaulted anyone. We simply refused to leave a public park. EM, I used her name there, tried to physically force our kids off the swings and screamed at everyone. Several people, including a teenager, caught everything on video. The police had to be called. If anyone wants to see receipts, I have them." And then, this felt so good. I dropped the link to the Reddit post with the video. Oh boy, did that flip the script. Within an hour, her entire Facebook post backfired spectacularly. Dozens of parents in the group watched the video and were appalled at EM's behavior. A few moms who know her in real life started calling her out, gently saying things like, "This isn't okay, I saw the video, you were in the wrong." Others were less gentle, basically telling her she should be ashamed. One even said, "Girl, you became the town meme, own up and do better." I was living for it. EM, predictably, did not take it well. She went ballistic in the comments, accusing me of spreading slander and saying the video was edited to make her look bad. It wasn't. It literally showed raw continuous footage. She then deleted her entire post out of embarrassment when she realized nobody was buying her story. But the internet never forgets. People had screenshots, and of course the video lives on. After that Facebook fiasco, a moderator of the group reached out to me privately to apologize for EM's behavior and even said they've had to delete contentious posts from her before. Sounds like she's a repeat offender for drama. On top of all that, the story even made it onto a local news blog. They wrote a short piece with the video embedded about an incident at City Park Playground and how it highlights the importance of understanding public space rules. They didn't name anyone, thankfully, but I'm sure EM saw it and recognized herself, so by now, EM must be furious and humiliated that her attempt to villainize me backfired. And, well, I was right about her not being done. Last night, I got a private message on Facebook from none other than EM. It was a long, barely coherent wall of text alternating between calling me a lying witch and pleading with me to stop spreading videos of her because it's ruining her reputation. She said, "I have no idea what it's like to be judged by the whole town." Oh, the irony again, and that her son is apparently devastated. She also vaguely threatened to take legal action for defamation. Lao, good luck with that. It's not defamation if it's true, and I haven't even said her name publicly. Plus, she posted about it first. I have not responded to her message, nor do I plan to. I did, however, save it and take screenshots, just in case. The teen's video clearly shows what happened, and the police report, yes, we did file an official report that day, would back me up if she actually tried something legal. Given her track record, though, I suspect this is more about saving face and trying to scare me into silence. For now, I'm just watching the drama from a distance. I won't lie, it feels vindicating to have proof that this event happened the way I described. But at the same time, EM's escalation from in-person tantrum to online harassment is unnerving. My husband, who was not at the park but is 100% on my side, thinks I should block her and maybe even preemptively talk to a lawyer just to be safe. I'm considering it. I'll keep you guys posted if anything else happens. I honestly hope this is the end of it and she crawls back under her rock, but something tells me the saga isn't over yet. Update 2, 1 week later. I really hoped things would just fizzle out after the online drama, but I guess that was wishful thinking. Buckle up again, because EM took things into the real world and it got ugly. About a week after the Facebook incident, life had mostly gone back to normal. I blocked EM on social media and tried to move on. I hadn't seen her around and figured maybe she'd finally crawled under a rock. Then yesterday, during afternoon pickup, I got a nasty surprise. I was waiting outside the school gates with other parents, and I spotted EM power walking toward the school. My stomach dropped. The look on her face was, honestly, a bit scary. She was glaring at me with this hateful, determined expression. I quickly glanced around and realized none of her usual mom friends were with her. It was just her, zeroing in on me. I tried to avoid eye contact and even moved closer to a group of other parents, hoping maybe she'd back off if I wasn't alone. No such luck. In hindsight, I should have walked straight into the school office and alerted someone, but I was caught off guard and didn't want to make a scene unless she actually did something. Well, she did. In a split second, EM marched right up to me, getting uncomfortably close to my face, and practically hissed, "Think you're so smart? Ruining my life?" I was startled and took a step back, saying something like, "This isn't the time or place. You need to leave me alone." I was trying to keep my voice low and calm, because kids were starting to come out, and the last thing I wanted was another public spectacle, especially in front of our children. EM wasn't having it. She jabbed a finger at me and said through gritted teeth, "You cost me friends. Everyone's laughing at me. You happy now?" I quietly said something like, "Please, not here. There are kids." Suddenly, she snarled, B*****CH, and grabbed a fistful of my jacket near my shoulder. It happened so fast. She yanked me forward, and I stumbled. A couple parents gasped. My son, who had just come out of the classroom door in time to see this, screamed, "Mommy!" That scream snapped other people into action. A couple of parents and a teacher's aide rushed over and pulled EM away from me, making her release my jacket. Once I was free, I grabbed my terrified son. EM immediately started shrieking that I had assaulted her and yelling that everyone saw it, which of course they hadn't, since it never happened. Other parents shouted back that they saw her grab me. The teacher aide told EM firmly to calm down, that the principal was being called. A few minutes later, the school principal and a security guard came running, and right behind them were 2 police officers. Someone had wisely called 911. Chaos erupted. Kids were crying, my poor son included. Parents were shouting. EM was alternating between rage and fake tears. Security managed to corral EM, though she kept trying to lunge at me. The police separated us to take statements. EM was still screeching that I started it, but multiple witnesses, including the school staff, quickly confirmed I hadn't touched her and that EM was the sole aggressor. When EM realized no one was buying her lies, she seemed to panic. One officer told her she was going to be arrested for assault, on school property no less. That's when EM did the unthinkable. She suddenly shoved the security guard and bolted, actually trying to run away across the school parking lot. It happened so fast, most of us were in disbelief. One officer sprinted after her as she ran to her car, which was illegally parked in the bus lane. She jumped in and locked the doors. The cop pounded on her window, ordering her out while the other officer ran to their patrol car to block her in. EM chose the worst possible option. She floored it. Tires screeching, she swerved around the police car and sped off. We all just stared, stunned. The officers jumped into their cruiser and took off after her with sirens on. I found out later she blew through a red light to evade them. EM got away for now. The cops know exactly who she is. I gave them all her info, and the school cameras caught everything. By fleeing, she turned a bad situation into a far worse one legally. As of now, they haven't caught her yet, but they fully intend to charge her with multiple offenses: assault, trespassing, fleeing police, etc. With the school's help, I also got an emergency restraining order against her to protect me and my son. My son was really shaken. He recognized her as the mean lady from the park. I took him home and spent the rest of the day calming him down and reassuring him that we're safe. I'm pretty rattled myself. I've got a bruise on my shoulder, but mostly I'm just mentally exhausted and incredulous that this has gone so far.